Hi there, and welcome to our Vegas Nation Stadium show, where we provide inside analysis and all up-to-date information on what is happening with the NFL Stadium set to open here in 2020. I'm Ed Graney, sports columnist for Las Vegas Review Journal, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Review Journal reporter Rick Velotta, our man on all things stadium, and RJ Sports editor Bill Bradley. Gentlemen, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us.
How are you guys?
Glad to be here.
Rick, I'm going to begin with you because ever since this project ever started, it's all been about numbers. And the main number in a lot of people's minds here in Nevada, and I think across the NFL, is how much this stadium will cost. We're getting closer and closer to what will be viewed as the final number. We've heard $1.9 billion. We've heard over $2 billion. There was a Stadium Authority board meeting this week that was very important, and now we're hearing we might be days away from getting that final number. So update everyone on that.
Well, as you pointed out, the $1.9 billion has always been the reference point. This is something that was brought up at the Southern Nevada Tourism Infrastructure Committee. It's been brought up anytime we've talked about it, anytime we've written about it actually, $1.9 billion, but always that has been just an estimate. The only way they can put everything together in a final development agreement is to have a guaranteed final price on that contract, and that's the number that we work from there. And that means that even though Southern Nevada or the state of Nevada has put up $750 million towards us in public funds, that's not going to change. It's always going to be $750 million. Where things change, though, is how much more or less this was going to cost than that original estimate. If it's more, the Raiders are going to be the ones who are they're going to have to find the difference there.
Okay, so in the Rick Velotta crystal ball, is it north of $2 billion?
I think it is. That's
Okay.
me personally, because I've seen how these stadium operations work, and they're talking about putting a Cadillac out there. It's not going to be some old jalopy. It's going to be something really nice. And you've seen the stadium in Minnesota. It's a beautiful facility, and that's kind of what they're looking for here on a scale in the desert.
Bill, one of the areas we haven't been able to cover a lot on these shows in the stadium, which is one I think is really important to this venture. You worked in the NFL, and you know all about personal seat licenses. And I think when those words are thrown out there, PSL, people kind of think they know what they are, but they're not really sure. Well, they're going to find out very quickly if they want to buy season tickets into this stadium, what that means. Take the people through personal seat licenses and why it's so important for these teams to have these attached to the tickets so they can make back some of their money.
Well, first of all, let's define a personal seat license. You're paying rent, one-time rent. Sometimes it's multiple rent, but for the most part, one-time rent on a seat. You haven't even bought the ticket yet. You're just saying, that's my seat. Some places you're paying, in Nashville at the Titan Stadium, it ranged from $500 to now $12,000 for some really good seats.
Right.
But that's a one-time cost. I would imagine this place is going to have that one-time cost be more in the range of, say, $10,000 to $20,000.
But it'll be important for the Raiders.
Yes, it'll be help to build this stadium. The fact is, they're going to sell those ahead of time. They have that the dioramas, the smaller version of the stadium. People are looking at the stadium over at Town Square, and they're going to say, that's the seat I want. Well, they're going to say, are you ready to take your checkbook out?
Bill, I'm glad you brought up what the PSLs are about as far as what the consumer looks like. Yesterday's Stadium Authority meeting, they had a lengthy discussion about PSLs, but it really didn't have anything to do about the consumers. It was more about how that money is transferred into the Raiders, and therefore it goes into accounts that will pay for the stadium as it's being built. So a lot of what the discussion is at the Las Vegas Stadium Authority level is how that money, whatever amount it is, gets put into play for building the stadium.
Rick, another big and you mentioned, look, Nevada's on the hook for $750 million with the room tax. Have it. Not a penny more. There is now updates, though, on the room tax collections. Talk about how 1 October impacted that. Have they now rebounded to come back on the room taxes? Where are they on the project in terms of numbers with room tax? Are they ahead? Are they behind? And as we go forward, should they hit all their marks?
Well, it's kind of an interesting way that they calculated it. This started in March of last year, okay?
Right.
So that was technically in last year's fiscal year.
When they started taking the money.
Right, when they start taking it. And remember, March is a huge month for Las Vegas. You've got all the basketball tournaments, you've got NASCAR, you've got probably the largest construction equipment show that they host over at the Las Vegas Convention Center. All that came in March. So March was a spectacular month. More than $1 million more than they projected would come in just that month. Well, over time, things have kind of gotten back toward toward normal, but then 1 October happened, and after that, there was a drop-off in tax collections the whole fourth quarter. Fourth quarter is always a weak quarter anyway, just because there's just not quite as much going on. There's holidays, things kind of just drop off. During that period of time, often the resort community will do their maintenance and their refurbishing of rooms, things like that, take some of those rooms offline. So more of that happened than was expected in the fourth quarter. Well, on top of that 1 October event in which they had to reduce prices of rooms to get people to come back, they naturally had fewer people coming in certain cases. It just did kind of flag a little bit, so that in October, November, December, it was off. Now we're starting to see it pick back up again. January is a good convention month here. February is usually a good convention month here. So we'll probably start to see that come back up. All total, over the time, we have 10 months that we've been paying into this so far. When I say we, are talking about people who actually stay at the hotels. It's 6.1% ahead of what they had projected. So that's a good thing. That's more than $2 million more in than they expected. And of course, that's just a very small fraction of the amount of money that's going to have to be used to pay back on those bonds, because the bonds, of course, not just $750 million you're paying back, but the interest on top of that.
Bill, as the project gets more and more real, obviously people begin to think of what this stadium could bring in terms of major events besides the Raiders and their regular season games. Michael Gelkin, our beat writer for the Review-Journal this week, reported that this Las Vegas and this stadium is one of, I think, 5 towns that are in line to host the NFL draft in 19 or 20.
Right.
We, at the Super Bowl, we reported, and he had a great story. Inevitably, we will get a Super Bowl because we have a new stadium. But explain to the folks, why is this important? Beyond the simple fact that we would get it and be able to promote the town, why is it important that Vegas land these kind of events?
Because it is shown to be, the NFL really accepts you when you have an NFL draft or another NFL event, such as Indianapolis every year hosts
the Combine.
The Combine.
Yeah.
It is a huge event there. You bring in lots of people. It may not be on the surface a big fan event, but it brings in a lot of people. It's something that city's known for. I could see the draft being here permanently at some point, because it is. It's glitzy. It's like Las Vegas. It's exactly what they wanted to be if they had it here. It was for years and years part of what was the fabric of New York in terms of of the NFL presence there.
Rick, also another thing that came out from the Stadium Authority Board meeting, all your reporting has come to the point that they were going to name a chair of the Community Benefits Oversight Committee. Update us on that, but also I think the important thing that comes out of that nugget of information is, have they followed marching orders in terms of small businesses, minority partnerships, everything this oversight committee is supposed to look at? Do you get the feeling, or have they proven back to the authority board that everything's being followed in this case? Yeah,
obviously, because this oversight committee hasn't met yet. They only just formed the committee at Thursday's meeting. But the fact is that in the early going, and this comes from one of the executives at Mortensen Construction, they've already surpassed some of the goals that were established. 15% number of contracts, 38% was the number of work hours that were performed by small business, minority, women-owned organizations. That's been surpassed so far. Again, this is early in the game. But the function of this committee to oversee this will be to monitor this on a regular basis and to make sure that all these goals are met or surpassed. And they have a pretty good group that they've come up with. The chairman is going to be a gentleman named Ken Evans, who is on the Stadium Authority Board. He's the head of the Urban Chamber of Commerce here in Las Vegas. So he will be the committee chairman. There is good representation on behalf of the Raiders, as well it should be, because they're building the thing, and also from the minority community around the state of Nevada and for Las Vegas particularly.
We hope you enjoyed the show, and remember, for all your Stadium and Raiders news, go to ReviewJournal.com daily and check back here at Vegas Nation. We will continue to bring you stadium shows as construction begins and the project is built before our very own eyes. For Review Journal reporter Rick Velotta, sports editor Bill Bradley, I'm Ed Graney. Thanks all of you for watching.